Severed, the ultimate severance podcast.
Hello there, macro data refiners. Welcome to Severed, the ultimate severance podcast. I'm your host, Alan S. You should know this if you've gotten this far, but I'm still going to say it anyway. Spoilers. This podcast is lousy with spoilers. If you haven't already watched the entire first season of Severance, what is wrong with you? Please get yourself to a wellness session. Okay, that's out of the way. Now, refiners, I hope you're ready for some fun. We've set aside a full 5 minutes out of today's schedule for a stellar music dance experience. I won't say any more. I don't want to ruin it for you. If you remember last time, both Mark and Graner were headed to Gans College. Neither knows the other's plans, but both are there to see the mysterious and resourceful Reghabi. She's got everybody up in arms now that she's introduced the chance for people to unsever.
I don't want you to unsever, because that's going to work. Reintegration.
Reintegration, whatever. It's a game changer if it works. So far, the only patient we've known who's tried it has unfortunately died. This is not the track record we were hoping for. Both Mark and Graner are about to meet Reghabi. Are you ready, refiners? It's time to open the file called Defiant Jazz. This episode was written by Helen Lee, with series creator Dan Erickson peering over her shoulder and the able assistance of staff writer Anna Oyang Munch. This one was directed by Ben Stiller. Ben is back in the director's chair, and he will be helming the final 3 episodes of the season. It was first released by Apple TV Plus on March 25th of 2022. As with most episodes, we start this one in black.
Who are you?
Whoa, what did he just say?
Who are you?
Now, where have we heard that before? Top of episode 1, maybe? Also in black before the fade up?
Who are you?
It's the question Mark asked, which started Helly on her life-changing Innie journey. Now the same question is starting him on a similarly life-changing journey. Great callback to the top of the series. We fade up on a long shot of Mark and another figure in what might be a parking garage. Whoever this is talks past the question, just like Petey was doing.
Come with me.
Check the long shot looking into the segmented openings of the parking garage. If only one of those segments were red, it would be the severance chip. The woman, who must be Reghabi, walks past Mark. He hesitates, then starts after her. This has to feel a little like his walk through the halls with Helly. Strong women do tend to lead Mark around. The building they're walking through looks both abandoned and a bit trashed. I'm worried about the maintenance staff here at Gans College. They really shouldn't be allowing this level of deterioration to campus buildings. Maybe security's keeping them away so Reghabi can work. Mark follows her into a stairwell past what look to be work lights. Just like at Lumen, we're heading down to get to all of the cool stuff.
You could have thrown away Petey's phone weeks ago. Why didn't you?
Because he was amazed by the battery life? She said it's been weeks. Really? I'd say maybe 2 weeks tops since the night Petey spent in Mark's basement, but not much more, and I really don't even think it's been that long. Mark is following this mysterious woman who seems to know stuff, but he does have questions.
Who are you?
Well, okay, he has the same question. She says she's the one who helped his friend.
Helped? You mean reintegration? Killed him.
Yeah, not the best Yelp review from her latest patient. The fast walking through darkened hallways continues. The woman claims it wasn't the procedure that killed Petey.
If he had followed my post-op instructions and not simply run away at the first sign of sickness.
Sure, it's never the doctor's fault. Mark picks up on post-op. It sounds official.
You're a doctor?
That must be it, a severance doctor. She says she's the one who put that chip in Mark's head.
And I'm still the only one who can deactivate it.
I think she's speaking metaphorically. I doubt she means she literally put Mark's specific chip in his head. I think she's saying she's the one who made the chip possible, so she figuratively put the chip in his head. If not, it seems like an awful lot for her to both be developing the technology and doing chip insertions. Surely they'd want to break things up. We know she wasn't there for Helly's chip insertion, so others have been trained at least on the installation side of things. The guys at the muffler shop don't design or build the mufflers. They're just trained to install them. I think it's probably the same with the severance chip.
Maybe I don't want it deactivated.
Mark gave this a lot of thought after Petey told him it was possible to reintegrate. He's still fighting taking the red pill. Reghabi, it turns out, is the part of Mark's conscience he had to shut off in order to keep justifying his existence as a severed worker. Reghabi wastes no time picking at the mental scabs. She asks Mark if he's considered what his Innie thinks about all this, if he's happy.
I hate that term, Innie. So infantilizing.
She knows Mark has only been severed for 2 years.
So your Innie really is still just a baby.
Mark looks a bit indignant.
My Innie lives his own life, and as a result, I get to live mine.
Wow, is Mark towing the company line or what? I half expected him to slip into a little ditty about the work-life balance. It turns out Reghabi's the one who should have been on TV debating Natalie the other night.
But he only exists because of you. And for all intents and purposes, he is you.
I'm impressed she used the phrase "for all intents and purposes" correctly. Where Mark is constantly reminding people it's still just him, Reghabi separates the two personas like they are different people. She asks if he, meaning Mark's Innie, is really different down there.
Combs his hair differently, laughs at different jokes.
Oh, sure, maybe Mark's Innie loves it down there.
But maybe he doesn't. Maybe he dreams every day about clawing his way to the surface.
She tells Mark he wouldn't know. He'll never know.
You brought him into this world without his permission, based on your own desire for emotional convenience.
This is some hard truth to have jammed down your throat late at night in a cold concrete building. Mark looks a little stunned.
I'm not a bad person.
But he might also be considering her words. Reghabi tells Mark she thinks he wants to do what's right.
Both of you.
As Mark considers how far he's willing to go for what's right, there's a noise. It makes Mark turn his head. We cut to a great shot from behind Mark. Much like the Milchick shot in O&D, Mark's head is the lower center of the shot. A wall right in front of him neatly divides the scene and his head into two halves. Mark's the only one who can see both sides, and isn't that poetic? On the right, we've got Graner entering the room. Graner, from the severed floor, walks into Mark's view under a jumble of messed-up-looking wiring. I am just sure that wiring is there on purpose. They've even got a light in it. It's a metaphor for Mark's severed head. On the left is Reghabi standing calmly in front of her microscope and research equipment. Reghabi is from the Outie world and trying to recombine the two. Look above Reghabi's head. Is that a feeding and/or breathing tube?
Mr. Scout.
This is the first time Outie-Mark has ever met Graner. You notice how pleasant he is? Just like with Milchick, Graner would want to maintain a good relationship with the Outies. No need to threaten or discipline an Outie, just keep them happy, and they'll keep coming back each day at the right time. We cut to a POV from Grainer's vantage point. He can only see Mark standing at the end of that wall.
Do I know you?
Graner is actually trying to smile as he says they work together.
Down there.
Oh, down there. It looks like it actually hurts for Graner to smile. Mark's eyes dart back to where Reghabi was standing.
You having a chat with someone, Mark?
Yeah, Graner is definitely a former cop. Mark is hesitant. He doesn't look too happy about any of this.
It's okay. I'm a friend.
These would be the last words Graner ever utters, either up here or down there.
Shit.
Reghabi took a full swing with an aluminum baseball bat to the back of Grainer's head. Mark recoils in horror, as did I. Reghabi follows up the first very effective swing with another, and then another.
What the fuck are you doing?
Just a guess, but I'd say beating Grainer's head to a pulp. Reghabi doesn't answer. Her actions speak for themselves.
Grab his arms.
Mark is freaking, but he moves towards Graner's body.
Oh my God. Oh fuck. Oh my God.
The two of them pull Graner's now lifeless body forward. His battered skull is leaving a thick blood trail. Through his panic, Mark seems fascinated. He works with this guy?
No, you don't. He's Doug Graner, head of security on the severed floor.
Finding out he's security makes it even worse for Outie-Mark.
Security? Oh my God.
Mark has a very human reaction to this situation. He says he's going to throw up. Reghabi shouts at him to not do it.
Don't! Your DNA's in that!
Well, yeah, but she just hit Graner multiple times with a baseball bat while not wearing any gloves. DNA is going to be everywhere at this crime scene. Reghabi goes through Graner's pocket and pulls out his black keycard.
Full access, and it can't be tied to anyone.
Whoa, this is a new detail. Untrackable access to the entire severed floor? Remember how I compared Severance to a classic computer adventure game? Finding this card would be a huge discovery if this were happening in the game. She hands it to Mark and tells him to take it with him to work tomorrow. She says he'll know what to do.
Who'll know what to do?
You.
Reghabi tells Mark to give her Petey's phone. Mark is to go home and get rid of his clothes. She says she'll take care of this.
Go now.
Mark staggers to the door but turns. He starts to ask a question, only he can't get it out. Reghabi says she'll be in touch. This is going to be okay.
Finish what Petey started, Mark.
Mark is still motionless, trying to process what's happened. Reghabi doesn't have time to talk. She's got a body to dispose of.
Now get the fuck out of here!
Mark staggers into the hall. He runs to what looks like the service corridor or alleyway they passed through earlier. This is where he finally does release a big batch of DNA. At least he did it away from the enormous smear of Graner blood back in the lab area. There's a cut to a shot looking through the construction. Things hanging from the ceiling create a jagged tunnel. It's a bit like looking through, a jagged hole in a skull. Mark starts to run as the music builds, and we head into the Emmy Award-winning opening sequence. If you need a moment to calm yourself, go right ahead. While you're doing that, let's meet the woman playing Reghabi.
Who are you?
This is Chicago-based actress Karen Aldridge. Not a lot of information on her IMDb page, so I did a Google search. Karen is all over the theater scene, especially in Chicago. I found a bio for her on the Goodman Theater website listing more than 20 plays where she has had major roles, including the international companies of both Battlefield and Le Costume. She's a regular at some of Chicago's premier theaters like the Steppenwolf, the Next Theater Company, and Chicago Shakespeare Theater. Karen also originated the role of Mrs. Phelps in the Broadway production of Matilda, the musical. Her 8 television credits include Chicago Fire and Chicago PD, which both shoot in Chicago, so no surprise there. Her television debut came in 2011 when she appeared as Dr. Ella Harris on 10 episodes of Kelsey Grammer's Stars series, Boss.
Now get the fuck out of here!
Okay, refiners, if you've caught your breath, it's time to continue on into the opening credit sequence. I'll talk to you on the other side. Coming out of the credit sequence, we find Mark storming into his house. He goes to the kitchen and grabs a trash bag. Reghabi said to get rid of the clothes. Mark is slamming the contents of his pockets on the counter, breathing heavily. He's loud. Mark is standing in the middle of his kitchen in his underwear. Everything else has gone into the bag when he hears a noise. Who's there? Oh, right, Alexa. She thinks she's still on a date while Mark was off becoming an accessory to murder. Mark jams the bag of death clothes under the counter just as Alexa comes into the kitchen. Mark's freaked, breathless.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
Mark says he was just getting some water. He's been gone for more than an hour, but he thinks he can cover this with, I was thirsty?
Where were you?
Mark is such a terrible liar. She heard the car.
You heard a car?
Mark crosses his arms, wearing nothing but his boxers. He is so busted, but he won't admit it. Alexa takes a step towards him. He retreats like a cornered animal.
You're being weird.
As weird as a guy who just saw someone get their skull bashed in? Mark's breathing is uneven, and he looks panicked. He tries to tell her the car was maybe just a dream?
I've been up for an hour, and you weren't here.
Please, Mark, come clean with this poor woman. She wants to be there for you. The lies aren't helping anything.
Okay, just... Sorry.
That's it. Tell her.
I just needed to drive a little.
And not exactly the whole story. Mark then tries to make it about their intimate time.
Well, I mean, this is kind of a big deal for me.
He's going for Mr. Caring and Sensitive, but he looks like he's just seen a ghost, which he kind of has. Now Alexa is feeling guilty.
Do you want me to go?
No, of course not. Stay. We can talk this out, then fall asleep in each other's arms until I have to go to work and get switched off. Come on, Mark. Say it. Do you really want her to go?
Maybe.
Ouch. Alexa looks like she's been slapped. Mark, if this woman ever allows you to see her naked again, count yourself a very lucky man. We cut away from this oh-so-cringy scene to an exterior of Mark's house. It must be later that morning. It's snowing and pretty hard. Cut back into Mark's kitchen where he's getting his morning coffee. He picks up Graner's black keycard from the stack of stuff he took out of his clothes last night and jams it in his suit coat pocket. Mark heads out into the snow. He's got a bag of trash to go into his bin, which now seems to just sit out on the street all the time. It certainly wasn't picked up yesterday. He has to fight with it to make the new bag fit. No surprise, Selvig appears at her door. See? How was he able to get away with rummaging around in his trash bin the other night when he was finding Petey's phone? She asks what he's doing out in all this snowiness.
You usually dispose of your waste in the early afternoon.
What? No, he doesn't. 5 days a week, he's at work in the early afternoon, working for you, as a matter of fact. Mark seemingly ignores this comment and says he's just getting a head start on the day.
You look troubled, Mark.
Well, yeah, he watched your buddy Graner get killed last night. I can see where this would be troubling. Selvig, of course, has the cure, and it's something from her seemingly imaginary shop.
Maybe we should talk later over a nice hot cup of lavender tea.
Selvig's Earth Mother outfit with the rag quilt top and turban is the perfect touch. Mark tells her he wants to see how the day goes. Then he makes his escape.
You look troubled, Mark.
Down on the severed floor, we can see through the shadows. It's 8:06 a.m. There's a heavy mechanical sound, and the clock is now in the light. Another sound, and it's back in the dark. Remember the little project the guys with the van were working on last night as Mark was headed out to Gans College? They finished, and Milchick is putting the new electronic door through its paces. Milchick inserts his keycard, it opens. Keycard again, it closes. He does this 4 or 5 times. Seth finally seems satisfied. The door works. He steps inside the MDR area and does the same thing again, opening and closing the door 4 or 5 more times. As he uses his keycard, we get a few close-ups. You can clearly see it is also black, like the one Reghabi took off Graner. After the doors have passed the Milchick test, he heads for the men's bathroom. We get an interesting up angle from next to the commode in question. The flash card showing a strike to the chest of the guy in green is visible from our angle. Seth has to feel around for it, but it's right where Dylan said it would be.
I put it in the bathroom, second stall behind the toilet.
What on earth is so valuable about this card? Seth asked Dylan if he'd been bribed to sneak it out of Lumen, to be delivered to some third party. An elementary school, maybe? There's a cut to a close-up of an eye peering through a lighted magnifier. It's gotta be Christopher Walken as Bert G. We reverse cut to the painted face of Keir Egan. He's older in this image with white hair and a receding hairline. He's wearing a collared shirt with a tie and a man's suit coat. He's got the same piercing blue eyes, of course, no beard, but a full white mustache. Cut to a long shot of the O&D space, revealing Felicia in the foreground and Bert G sitting back by the main door. Milchick enters the room at a brisk clip.
Mr. Milchick, pleasure to see you, sir.
So Milchick also seems to be an administrator over the O&D department as well as MDR. I was wondering if the management layer was as fragmented as the workers. I guess not, at least not when it comes to O&D and MDR. Check the light on Bert's desk. Any light in the camera shot that actually turns on is called a practical. Cinematographer Jessica Lee Gagne said she had to fight for practical working lamps on the desk, both here and in MDR. She knew she was going to want to do things like this shot and this scene where Mark changes out the pictures in the frames. The pooled lights in the darkened room can create a great scene, but managing practical lights can be a headache. They also take away from the clean, uncluttered desktop effect the set decorators were trying to achieve. Jessica won out, and the results were worth it. Milchick pulls out the recently retrieved card Dylan stole and hands it to Bert.
The missing 7199G.
Bert mentions someone named Oswald will be delighted when it comes to the return of this card.
I, too, am delighted.
Milchick then says something cryptic and a bit eerie.
Good. Now we can focus on the final preparations.
That we can.
Without interruptions.
That we shall.
Excellent.
Final preparations? For what? This sounds very ominous. Maybe it's something O&D's working on for the Egan family festivities, but this sounds more sinister. There's an awkward pause. Milchick remains standing next to Bert's workstation.
May I?
Of course.
Milchick bends down, looking through the same lighted magnifier where Bert was working.
Outstanding.
Something big is happening here. Something Milchick is hinting at but doesn't say.
You've been a great leader to this department, Bert G.
Thank you.
You deserve something special.
Bert hopes it's not another trip to the break room. It sounds like he was reprimanded along with Mark as a result of the MDR O&D summit.
Yesterday was quite enough.
As far as we know, and according to Petey's map, there is only one break room. They must be breaking these wayward employees in shifts, or possibly they aren't in there for very long. If anybody knows how to beat the break room, I'd bet it's Bert G. Seth assures him not that.
Something else. Stay tuned.
There's a cut to the severed elevator door opening. Dylan has just arrived at work, and Mr. Milchick is waiting for him.
Dylan G. Good morning.
What the hell was that?
This is the first time Dylan's work personage has been awake since he was awakened in Outie-Dylan's home last night. To his perception, seconds ago, he was sitting in Outie-Dylan's closet. Milchick doesn't answer. Instead, he tells Dylan to walk with him.
What happened last night is called the overtime contingency.
Seth is saying this very matter-of-factly, like it's no big deal. It happens all the time.
It's a safeguard we occasionally employ to remotely awaken workers off-site.
Oh, sure, okay. Dylan is shocked and outraged, as he should be. He says they were never told anything like that could happen.
It's for emergency use only.
It sounds like Milchick is freelancing again. He ran the 266 on Irv without Cobell's knowledge. Now he's admitting to Dylan he did this on his own as well.
And I didn't consult Miss Cobell because she's been so stressed.
So if it wasn't Harmony holding the switches and Graner was working on tracking down his Gans college lead, who did Seth have on the other end of the line holding open the overtime contingency switches? There's one image Dylan can't shake.
The boy. Was that my son?
Milchick stops walking and turns back to Dylan. He says the boy had agreed to count to 1,000.
She then violated.
Yeah, he really should have made sure the kid even knew what 1,000 was. Milchick screwed up, and you can tell Milchick knows he screwed up. But he can't let Dylan know. He needs to contain this information, and he needs to do it right now.
I really wouldn't mention this to your colleagues, Dylan.
The OTC is need to know. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. You can keep it quiet, right, big fella? But there's that image.
Can you tell me his name?
Zach Cherry is so earnest. You feel so badly for Dylan. Milchick then says something that defies all logic.
Not knowing is probably for the best.
He flashes his megawatt Milchick smile and tells Dylan he knows how tough this quarter's been. But it's way too late. This toothpaste is not going back in the tube.
I'm gonna see about wrestling you up some special perks.
Oh, sure, yeah, special perks are going to totally wipe out all memory I have of my son. Dylan can't speak. Milchick takes his silence to mean acceptance.
Good man, Dylan. Good man.
A troubled-looking Dylan continues on to MDR.
Good man.
Cut to Mr. Scout getting ready to head down to work. He's at his locker when he takes out Graner's black keycard, the untraceable magical card with access to the entire severed floor. He decides to put it in his pocket. What does he care if it's still there 8 hours from now? No harm, no foul. If not, he has no idea where it went. When Mark's elevator doors open on the severed floor, guess who?
Marcus, good morning.
Good morning.
Jot a quick mental note here, refiners. Mr. Milchick is wearing a white short-sleeved collared work shirt with a black tie. Oh, and he's also wearing a huge grin. Mark replies with a good morning, but you can see the worry in his knitted brow. A break in routine is not good. Having Milchick meet you at the elevator? Also not good. Mark steps into the elevator reception area face to face with Milchick.
So am I going to the...
I'm here to escort you to your desk. New protocol.
Well, it's weird, but it's got to be better than going to the break room.
Sounds good.
It doesn't really sound all that good, but what are you going to do?
Lead the way.
Remember this saucy samba music from the first trip we took with Mark through these halls? We get a tentative and restrained figure of it, only this time it's mixed into the theme as they walk. Turning the final corner, Mark gets his first look at the new door situation.
Wait, we're locked in now?
I prefer the phrase safely situated.
So, yeah, locked in. Milchick says these doors will keep the refiners safely tucked into their workspaces. Doesn't that sound cozy?
Did Mr. Graner order this?
No answer from Milchick. As the doors open, we get Mark's flabbergasted reaction from the other side. He eyes the new doors up and down warily. Milchick leads Mark into the MDR space.
Marcus is here.
He tells Mark to have a seat. He'll get the coffee. We see Dylan, Helly, and Irv already seated at their workstations. All of the cubicle dividers are down in the diamond desk. The clock on the wall tells us it's 9:15. Mark is once again not down there first. He's really slacking on these new department chief duties. As Mark makes his way around to his workstation, Helly is wanting answers.
Mark, what is this?
She's wearing a completely yellow dress today. We've only seen yellows surrounding green severed spaces. I believe yellow down here indicates caution, or it's a warning that something is about to be upset. This yellow dress on Helly is a big yellow flag for us. The news Dylan is about to unleash will create a huge upset among the severed workers. Instead of answering Helly, Mark does a double take looking back towards the kitchen. Milchick is not that far away. Mark keeps his voice jocular and at a normal volume as he asks how Herb's doing.
I'm well, thank you. The renovations are very nice.
As Mark fires up his workstation, he also checks in with Dylan. Is he all right?
Fine.
This is Innie-Dylan with his son on his mind. He's very definitely not the Dylan we know and love from the severed floor.
Well, that's the best you can do. Where's the sly profanity-laced cutback?
I don't think permission to do sticky head could cheer Dylan up right now. Mark thinks it's due to the new doors. Little does he know what's really bothering the Big D. Milchick returns with Mark's first cup of joe for the day.
Here you go. Straight from the hills of Rwanda.
Milchick leaves the MDR space through the new doors. He's on his phone looking for Cobell.
Hey, it's me. Don't know if you heard, but Graner didn't come in. Everything's fine.
He wouldn't be saying things were fine if he'd seen how Reghabi handled that bat. He concludes the call, wondering where Cobell might be.
I'm gonna see about wrestling you up some special perks.
We get an answer as to the whereabouts of Cobell in the next scene. Cut to a baby doll with an eerie face. Cobell, or Selvig, has it on her lap. It's Selvig the lactation consultant this morning. It looks like she got the job with the Hales. She's at the beer house giving Devin some pointers.
So I lean my upper body slightly forward while cradling the top of the neck, just so.
She demonstrates on the demonic-looking doll she's holding. This doll has spiky blonde hair and is wearing khakis and a golf shirt. It looks like it should be able to get its own drinks. After Cobell goes through the entire move, she hilariously slams the baby doll on the couch.
Now you try.
Just as easy as can be, using the Selvig method, Devin is able to get the little princess to latch.
Baby sips. Baby sips.
We don't know why she's here or what she's up to, but Cobell does seem to have some knowledge about proper lactation procedures. There's a cut for time to the kitchen. We can assume little Eleanor had a successful lunch and is now down for a nap. Selvig is kind of loudly telling a lactation war story.
So she goes into the airport restroom to try to hand express it.
Devin's laughing her head off at the thought of a wayward boob shooting out milk.
Just like an angry fire hose. Oh, no.
Devin is pouring hot water for tea. She asks if Selvig needs to get to the store. It sounds like Cobell really needs to get to the severed floor. She tells Devin, they can do without her.
I'm having fun.
There really has to be a store, right? She tells this story far too often to too many people. She'd have to give a store name and a location at some point. Kier's not that big. People know what's downtown. I've got some details on just where Selvig's shop might be. I'll have those for you in just a few minutes. Devin sits with the mugs and tells Selvig her Gabby Arteta story. How they met at baby camp. Her husband's a state senator whose turn-ons include severance. Oh, and I just caught that. Arteta is a state senator, so he's not in Washington. He's fighting to get severance legalized right here in the state of PE. Selvig is making the right noises while listening to this story, but they sound fake.
Oh, wow.
Well, no, but it was weird. Because I saw her again at the park a few days later, and she 100% didn't remember me.
Devin hesitates to even bring it up, but she hints at the possibility. What if this woman got severed in order to have a baby? Selvig shrugs it off, saying the pain of childbirth might be to blame for the memory lapse. She then changes the focus, bringing the conversation around to her favorite subject besides Kier.
Severed. Why do you think Mark did it?
So has Cobell infiltrated the Hale household in order to find out more about Mark? Is Mark a personal fascination of hers, or is this somehow an assignment from Lumen? Devin tells her about Mark's decision to sever after the car accident. He couldn't keep teaching.
Does he ever talk about her?
This might be a fact-finding mission regarding Gemma, Ms. Casey.
Does Mark ever think he sees her?
Like, fragmented images of her from the severed floor. Selvig once again invokes her long-dead husband.
When my husband passed, I thought I saw him everywhere.
I think the Selvig as widower story is a cover. I don't believe Cobell has ever been married. She is a nun in the service of Kier. In her mind, she's married to Kier, and there can be no other.
Just like an angry fire hose. Oh, no.
We cut to an MDR screen. The file open on the screen is Eminence, and it's currently at 33%. The collection of finger traps to the left of the screen is a tip-off. This is Dylan's machine. What happened to Tumwater? It was the file Dylan was about to complete on Helly's first day. He must have blown on through Tumwater, then jumped to Eminence. Since we're at the Diamond Desk, let's pause for a second to talk about these state-of-the-art refiner workstations. They really do work, but they are not computers that have ever been available for sale. They were created for the production. Set decorator Andrew Baseman says each workstation is fully functional. The performers can actually do number selections and refine a file using the keyboard and trackball. Adam Scott mentioned just how much fun these trackballs were in an interview with Seth Meyers.
And then the trackball they designed for the specific computer is ergonomically impossible, so we all started getting this weird new carpal tunnel.
This is really, you're really giving a ringing endorsement of show business.
Series creator Dan Erickson said it was fun to watch the evolution of refinement styles among the performers. He said Zach Cherry's style was more devil-may-care. He'd jump in and grab big wads of numbers, slamming them into the bins. It's exactly how you'd expect a hot-shot macro-dat like Dylan to handle his data.
We were actually eliminating numbers, and like Zach Cherry, who's in the show, got really good at it.
Irv, on the other hand, was tentative. Irv's refining technique was more cautious and controlled than Dylan's, reflecting Irv's more buttoned-down demeanor. Dan Erickson said you could really see these differences in refining style evolve as the performers settled into their characters. Although the workstations do work, there was one tiny and very poetic change made to the refiners' keyboards. None of them has an escape key. This is a reminder that there is no escape from the severed floor. Andrew Baseman said the keyboards, monitors, even the furniture was all selected by design to have an unsettling effect on both the performers and the viewers. The furniture and severed floor props were either found or made overseas because that way they wouldn't be comfortable or recognizable to most viewers. Baseman said he auditioned 6 different chairs before he found the perfect chair for the refiners to sit in. It would have been far too easy to go with the Herman Miller Aeron chair you see in just about every office set. No, Baseman wanted odd. He said it was just luck finding the chairs he wanted, which also already happened to have gray paint and gray upholstery. There's a reverse cut to Dylan's face. There is no joy here, no happiness, only the grinding intensity of a man who needs answers. Irv steps up behind Mark.
Hey.
Hey.
I was just in the bathroom.
Something is bothering Irv, and it's something kind of odd.
Hey, whatever happened to the soap labels?
Mark's trying to keep up, but this isn't making a lot of sense. Irv says there aren't any labels on the soap dispensers. Shouldn't there be labels saying soap? Mark doesn't recall labels on the soap.
There's never been that.
Dylan isn't putting up with any of Irv's goofiness today.
We all know it's soap.
Irv pauses, looking off into the distance.
Seems like an O&D question.
Ah, there it is. Irv was searching for a reason to confer with Bert. Kind of roundabout, but shouldn't someone be looking into this no soap label situation? Of course they should, and the perfect guy to tackle it would be Bert G., you know, from O&D. Before Irv tries to hightail it out of there, let's talk soap for a minute. Why aren't the soap dispensers labeled? Virtually everything else in any world is labeled. Some theories say the green stuff in the tanks in the bathroom is not soap. It looks like soap, it works like soap, but in order for it to fit these theories, it's not soap. This is supposed to explain why it's not labeled. Labeling it would be a lie. And you know how Lumen never lies to anybody. It's also theorized that applying the green Lumen soap directly to the skin of an innie somehow makes them even more compliant. We have no data on this, but if true, this would be another explanation for why innies are encouraged to wash their hands at least 10 times a day with the green Lumen soap. Keir may have prized soap because of his natural susceptibility to infection. Keir's wife, Imogen, who we saw immortalized in the painting The Courtship of Keir and Imogen, also has a tie to soap. She was what they called a swab girl at the ether factory where she met Keir Egan. In downtown Keir, there is a soap shop called Swab Girl in honor of Imogen. Swab Girl sounds like quite an operation. It's referred to as both a bathhouse and a soapery. This shop, Swab Girl, might be the shop Harmony Cobell is always referencing when she's in the character of Mrs. Selvig. She may work there, or at least be listed as working there, as a cover for her Upworld life. She's also a big promoter of the place, even if she's never there. The storefront they used as Swab Girl is actually the Beacon Bath and Bubble. It's a real-world soap and bath accessories shop located at 458 Main Street in downtown Beacon, New York. They're only open from noon until 6 and closed Mondays and Tuesdays. This might explain why Harmony is always talking about the shop, but rarely in it. If you do stop by the Beacon Bath and Bubble, tell them Alan S. from the Severed Podcast sent you. They'll have no idea what you're talking about. Mark reminds Irv they can't be going to O&D.
I mean, I get that you're worried about Bert.
Irv is worried Bert's being disciplined for the MDR visit from yesterday, which, as we heard earlier this morning, he was, but he's all through with that now. Irv is speaking in hushed tones. The concern is obvious in his voice. Dylan has no sympathy.
Suppose he is, thanks to you.
Helly is taken aback by his tone and gives him a look.
If only someone had told you that going there was a shitty fucking idea from the jump.
Wow, harsh. The other three are shocked by Dylan's tone. This is anger barely contained. It's real and it's intense. It's also nothing like what we associate with Innie-Dylan. Before anyone can ask Dylan just what the heck's the matter, we hear a sunny voice from off camera.
Good day, refiners.
A warning, refiners. Milchick is arriving with the MDE, the Music Dance Experience. It's the reward given for achieving 75% in a refined file. From the moment when Mark says it's an MDE until Milchick says the MDE is officially canceled is a total of 4 minutes. 4 minutes out of more than 9 hours of content created in this first season. Nevertheless, this 4 minutes has generated more news articles, more interviews, and more commentary than any other scene in the entire series by a long shot. It's a great scene, but wow, everybody wrote an article about it. I'm relying primarily on the interview Ben Stiller and Jessica Lee Gagne did with Vanity Fair for some technical insight into this scene. Mark sees the cart Milchick is rolling in. Helly's confused.
What's this?
It's an MDE.
The refiners look surprised and a little bit amazed, but I'm not sure exactly why. The last MDE would have been when Dylan hit 75% on Tumwater. This would have been in the week prior to Helly's arrival, but it was only about 3 weeks ago. Dylan has his back to the MDE cart. He continues working, pointedly ignoring Milchick. This one would be for Helly?
She got to 75%.
Helly reacts but doesn't say anything. There's a close-up of Milchick plugging the cart into a cool, motorized, retractable floor plug. Lumen spared no expense when it came to outfitting the severed floor. Too bad they couldn't have put a few more bucks into the sound system. In keeping with most things on the severed floor being analog, it's a turntable. There are no speakers, no mixer, no amplifier, just a turntable. I am of a certain age, and I was a mobile DJ for a lot of years. Take it from me, turntables don't play music on their own. Okay, I'm going to give him an out here. Let's say when he plugged into the floor plug, he was also plugging the output of the turntable into some kind of a conference room-wide sound system. Yeah, that's it. We'll say he plugged into a room PA system and leave it at that.
LER, please step forward.
Tremel Tillman is standing behind the MDE cart. Remember this morning when we took note of Milchick's short-sleeved white dress shirt and black tie? He's changed. This must be Milchick's MDE wear. It's a white, long-sleeve, form-fitting turtleneck sweater. Around his neck, he's wearing his black keycard on a black lanyard and the black strap of the film camera. All are starkly visible, contrasted against the white turtleneck. So does Milchick keep the turtleneck somewhere in Cobell's office? As Helly is making her way forward, Milchick continues.
By reaching 75% refinement on Sienna, you have earned for you and your fellow refiners a 5-minute music dance experience.
Irv is lurking behind Helly, checking out her workstation. Helly arrives at the MDE cart with an embarrassed smile. Milchick snaps a pic. Irv speaks up.
Mr. Milchick, she's at 73%.
Goody, goody, Irv. Milchick is aware, and he doesn't care.
Yes, well, it's been a tough morning on all of us.
Yeah, maybe, but Milchick didn't arrive at his office to find he's now permanently locked in.
Why for you?
And I thought a little frivolity would be just what the doctor ordered.
Everyone needs to stop looking the gift Milchick in the mouth and just enjoy the MDE.
Helly, please approach the MDE cart.
Ooh, a drawer is pulled out to reveal a number of party instruments. We can see a shaker egg, wooden castanets, and a penny whistle all in the green tray to the left of the drawer. In the middle is a standard tambourine. Around the tambourine are 4 blowout-type noisemakers, 2 red and 2 blue, of course. In the green tray to the right are 2 maracas. The penny whistle, castanets, and maracas all have a visible Lumen logo. A yellow laminated sheet is sitting on the face of the tambourine. It is headed Music Experience under a reversed-out Lumen logo. Milchick hands Helly the Music Experience sheet.
You may choose one genre and one accessory.
We all know Helly is going to choose Defiant Jazz, but did you catch what she didn't choose? The other music selections on the MDE sheet are listed in alphabetical order as follows: Bawdy Funk, Bouncy Swing, Buoyant Reggae, Defiant Jazz, which Helly's going to choose, Effusive Ska, Exalted Choral, Exciting Rap, Hootin' Tootin' Country, Lofty Orchestra, Maximized Rhythms, Playful Punk, Reckless Disco, Spooky Ambient, Tearful Emo, Thoughtful Grunge, Wholesome Big Band, and finally, Wistful Pipes. Helly gives Milchick a look as she reaches for
the maraca. Excellent choice.
Irv doesn't agree.
Should have gone for the castanets.
And of course, we need the music genre selection.
I choose Defiant Jazz.
Cut to Milchick's hands flipping through Lumen-branded cardboard 45 sleeves. And in a nod to just plain weird, the 45s themselves don't have the usual large center hole. These have a spindle hole, like what you'd find on an album. If you're under 30, I know this is probably sounding like gibberish. Ask your parents. They'll be more than happy to talk about it for a couple of hours at least.
Though this experience is in Helly's honor, I urge all the refiners to take advantage of the opportunity presented.
We get a shot of Dylan still refining but fuming. Milchick starts the tune, then reaches into his pocket. He has a small remote which he points at the ceiling and clicks. The lights begin to pulse and change color. The very staid and boring MDR space is suddenly transformed into a disco. Much has been written and said about these lights. In some reports, it will say things like, a light tech discovered the lights could flash. Well, the way they say it makes it sound like some tech found a hidden switch and suddenly the lights were flashing. This is far from the case. The tech realized these lights could be programmed with the particular dimmer panel they were using. The programming was a painstaking and time-consuming process, but Jessica Lee Gagne really wanted to do this kind of a scene. She said they broke it down into 4 parts. Each time a section would be programmed, they would bring Ben Stiller in to see it, and he would give notes. The crew would then go back and incorporate those notes into the sequence. Gagne said each time they turned the lights on for a test, it really did something to them. They had to dance. To the performers, the light show was a total revelation.
Whoa, wow.
They had not been in on the programming or notes session, so when the lights started blinking for this scene, they were truly amazed. Adam Scott talked to Seth Meyers about it in a late-night interview conducted June 20th of 2022.
The thing that Ben had kept from us and surprised us with on the day was that the fluorescent lights we'd been living with for months and months, once the music starts, Tremel Tillman, who plays Milchick, hits a remote control and they turn into like disco lights in the entire ceiling and we had no idea that was going to happen. So the reaction you see of us kind of marveling at these lights are actual actors that have been trapped in this room for 9 months being dazzled by disco lights.
You do seem absolutely in awe.
Yeah.
Whoa, wow.
The music that starts is a cut called Shaky Jake by modern jazz saxophonist Joe McPhee. Shaky Jake comes from a 1971 live album by McPhee entitled Nation Time. This is the second of only 3 cuts on the album. Before you add this one to a Severance playlist, be warned. The entire cut is 13 and a half minutes long, but it's not the longest song on the album. The title track, Nation Time, clocks in at 18 and a half minutes. The album was recorded live in the Chicago Hall at Vassar College's Urban Center for Black Studies. This album is hailed as a brilliant example of modern jazz, and since it was so revolutionary, going against jazz norms, it's also a good example of Defiant Jazz. Not sure where Lumen got this record. Shaky Jake was never released as a single, and the max amount of time you can squeeze on one side of a 45 is about 6 minutes. This must be the Lumen MDE edit of Shaky Jake. A lot of what makes this scene so compelling rests with Milchick. Tremel Tillman goes for it. He's a trained and experienced stage performer with a master's degree in fine arts. Breaking out some stellar dance moves is no sweat for Tremel Tillman. Adam Scott, on the other hand, not as well trained in the stage arts. Adam does a little snapping with very little foot movement. Milchick works his way around to Helly. She's laughing and shaking the maracas. Cut to John Turturro. Irv is also standing still, but he's snapping. As we come around Helly, following Milchick, this is all Steadicam footage. As much as he hates it, Ben Stiller said this is one of the spots where they absolutely had to break free with the Steadicam. Tremel Tillman did work with a choreographer to create the sequence. Ben said Tillman and the choreographer came to him one day showing what they were working on. It was perfect. Stiller said when the camera started rolling, Tremel just naturally started to work the room and the camera like the professional he is. It took 2 days, but Stiller said shooting this scene was just fun. Oh, and I'm sorry, refiners. I have to go check on a management issue. It looks like we're going to have to put the rest of the MDE on hold until I can return. We'll pick up right here next time, I promise. For now, I need you to close this file and shut down your workstations. You will be on your own exiting today since I have to go. Remember to please leave by the elevator, of course, and as always, make sure to stagger your exits.
You've been listening to Severed, the Ultimate Severance Podcast. Severed is written, produced and hosted by Alan Stair.
Severed is not endorsed by Red Hour Productions, Endeavor Content or Apple TV+. This podcast is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only.
Severance, the Severance logo and all video and audio of Severance and Severance characters are registered trademarks of Red Hour, Endeavor Content, Apple TV+, or their respective copyright holders.
Please make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review for Severed at Apple Podcasts.